Hey, this is Matt Stauffer, and I just wanted to show you the process of me creating gistlog.co. And you can see more details about how I did it and what my motivations were as you get into the video. But I just wanted to say one thing up front. What we're not talking about here is advanced architecture practices, or even necessarily the best way to do anything. There's very few things that happen over the next hour and a half video that I would say, this is how you should do it. I want this to be clear. This is spiking. This is the idea here is doing kind of okay coding practices to get stuff done. And then you prove things out, you validate the idea, which means you basically show it to potential audience and see if they're even interested. And while you show it to them and after you show it to them and whatever, you go back and you clean things up and you test things and that kind of stuff. So what we're doing here is just kind of spitting things out. Notice my original goal was to get something like this done in an hour or two for an entire application. You don't write you don't do TDD in that amount of time. You don't do a lot of the best architecture practices. Now, this stuff is simple, so it's not like this is horrible, but I just want to point out this is not a place to go and say, oh, I want to learn the best practices, or I even want to see how Matt works in the day-to-day. This is not that. This is, I want to see what it looks like to spike an idea from nothing to functional prototype that you can show people in a very short period of time. That's what this is, and I hope it's valuable to you, but I want to make sure up front we're clear. This is not best practices. This is fast practices. So I hope you enjoy. All right. So I was saying on Twitter, I have the ability. I have an idea for an app, and I think I'm going to be able to spin the whole thing up, develop the total MVP, minimum viable product for it, put it up on Forge, Laravel Forge, develop it in Laravel in an hour or two. That's what I said. So I wanted to record myself doing it just for the sake of folks looking, seeing what it looks like for my development cycle. So first thing let's do is, so I went to DN Simple, and I guess I'm gonna have to blur a lot of stuff out. So blur. Um, Also, check it out. I have my second and third finger have band-aids on them, so I'm using my fourth finger to use the touchpad. So typing and mousing is really difficult right now. So 5-minute geek show, no, this is gistlog.co. So I go to gistlog.co. I bought it. I used the iOS app, which is the only piece that I've done prior to this. I just wanted you to see that I bought it. I bought it in iOS right when I had the first had the idea. So let's go create things. Oh, I'm gonna blur that out too. Okay. New L5, new Laravel 5, which it's a command that I have for creating a new Laravel 5 app for gistlog. So while we're at that, why don't we create a new PHP storm from new project from existing files? God, I always forget how to do this. Web servers installed locally, source files are local. Can I just say there's no web server configured? That's easier. All right, let's go to users, Matt Stauffer. I don't want you guys to see all my stuff. Sites. And I'm going to pick gistlog. Refresh so I can see this new one. Gistlog. Okay, so I mark that as the project root, and then I click on the public directory and I mark that as the resource root, and then I hit finish. There we go. Okay, so let's go to Packagist and let's look up the GitHub. So basically the premise of this thing is a lot of folks will, what's his name, Ross Tuck, use gists, GitHub gists as blogs. They just put up a little bit of code there and they use it as a blog post, which is cool. It's just quick. You spin it up. You don't have to have a whole blog up and running. But the one problem that you have with that is that it's the presentation is kind of difficult to have a lot of control over. It looks fine here, but like on your phone, there's nothing. And so what I thought is like, what if just in an hour or two I could just spin up a Laravel app that kind of was a front to this, that made it a little bit more, that I could do some custom styles on it that made it maybe a little bit more readable, just a little bit. I don't know. Who knows if it's any of use, but it was just like I try to do things like this where I have an idea and I like make the whole thing in a really short period of time because it helps me learn stuff. I learn to go faster. It helps me, try new libraries or try new development techniques. So even if nobody ever uses it, it's going to be of value to me. So this is our thing. So this is our gist ID we're going to be working from. So let's look up KNP Labs. That's the big one. So we want to do 1.4.1. And it's KNP Labs / GitHub -API. So let's see if we're ready yet. Okay, we're ready. So composer require KNP NP Labs. Gosh, typing with this Band-Aids. Combination of typing while people are watching you and typing with Band-Aids on your fingers, this is going to be painful. All right, GitHub -API. Oops. Colon 1.4.1, which is just tilde 1.4. Meanwhile, let's get in here and start setting things up. So we've got our .env and our .env.example. So we will let's do Homestead eventually. Of course, the database name for both of them is going to be gistlog. Gistlog. And I know already we are going to want a GitHub token. So we'll need to put that in our env file. But of course, we'll need an actual token. Okay, great. So let's go to our routes file. And right now, we don't need to worry about any kind of authentication or passwords. We will have a home, but the home will be the same as the app home. So we don't need to worry about home. We're just purely worrying about the actual core of the thing. And so I dropped all that stuff, which means we can get rid of a whole bunch of views and controllers that come around by default, but we will be using the default application structure and the default views and that stuff. So I'm not going to get rid of everything. So in terms of controllers, I got to decide, do I want home controller or welcome controller, or does it matter? We'll use the home controller for our routes right now. So let's do home controller at index, which is going to be our base route. So what things do we want to do? Well, we want to set up GitHub. So let's set up a service. Well, let's make sure, but I'm guessing we're going to have a service provider. So let's see what initializing it with your token looks like. Using Laravel GitHub. It might, but I'd like to do it on my own. Okay, basic usage of PHP GitHub API client. This is nice, but I'm almost 100% sure that we need to authenticate. So, interesting, I didn't know it had its own caching library. I wonder how you choose how long they get to cache. We'll get cache responses if resources haven't changed since last time without reaching the X-rate limit imposed by GitHub. Interesting. I like that. So we definitely want to do this, but I still need to figure out how do we authenticate. I remember doing this last time. There's a doc directory, last time I used this, and I thought it was in authorizations, but I think it wasn't. Yeah, this is about GitHub authorizations. It was somewhere else. It's in security. This is how we figure out how to authenticate. And username or token password method. So I think we can pass just token, right? Please? Yeah, I hope so. Username, and guess what should contain password? I don't know what you're saying. The method contains when it's auth URL token. Blah, 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 blah. This is really confusing. Okay, I need a lot more caffeine today, but let's, okay. So let's make a service provider. So what do we have here? We've got, I think we've got make provider maybe. There we go. PHP artisan make provider, and then it's going to be GitHub provider. And then we come in here, and honestly, to be very honest with you, I'm really bad at remembering what happens in boot and what happens in register. I guess boot the application services, this is actually registering, so let's do this. So we've got our client. It says, or select directly which cache you want to use. Well, I want a file system cache. Maybe this one is not choosing it directly. Well, it looks like these are kind of the same thing. So we're just going to do this. Looks like this is a more explicit way of doing it. Cached ATP. Yeah, so let's do this. So this is what we're saying is app we're binding that app GitHub client equals new GitHub client, which is a new cached client, and cached.jar is /temp/github-api cache. So that's going to be interesting because we're going to have to figure out what's that all relative to, because I would like it to be within the application space. So this is probably going to break right now. So let's do this later. Let's just get a normal version working for right now. I don't know if I'm legally going to be allowed to let you guys listen to this later, but I'm going to listen to some music. And oh, comes through my headphones. He's a friend of mine, so he might actually let me do it later. So, but we'll see. I got 30 minutes before I'm meeting with Matt Frost, so let's see what I can get done between now. Okay, so normally it's just new client, so we're just going to do that. All right, I don't think we have access to app. So I'm trying to remember exactly how we're supposed to get application in here. Undefined class application, do we already use it here? Illuminate support service provider. Illuminate foundation. We're not in foundation, we're in app provider. So why are we not bring this in? What's going on? Are we good now? Yes, this exists. Cannot find deck. What are you talking about? Is it not registered? Have I not composer installed? That, I mean, well, I did composer install, but it probably didn't generate the autoloader, so maybe that's the thing. What? This is when you guys figure out how little I know about PHP Storm. I know there's something about teaching about PSR4 base, blah, 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 blah. But I've never had to do this before. It's just always just kind of worked. Okay, composer tools, init composer, okay. This is frustrating. Detect PSR namespace roots. Yeah, see, this is the thing. I've always just left this because I'm just like, I don't know. Test folder, source folders, resource roots. I feel like there should be like 15,000 more of them in here, and I'm just missing something. Okay, we're updating. Okay. There we go. It worked. Fantastic. Application. Okay, so that's what I wanted. Application app. So I still feel like app should be available to me somewhere else if it's like this. There you go. Just like that. See, I'm not as dumb as you might think. So this is this app because it's already bound in. This app. Okay. So in theory, at some point, we can now pull GitHub client out of the IOC container and use it. So let's go into home controller. This is our index. So let's just make sure we're able to be up and running. What's the, I don't actually know what the artisan serve, does that work? Aha! Okay, yep, I don't care about the middleware, the auth middleware, so that's weird. Welcome to, oh, because we're in the home controller. Drop that. Drop that. Okay, die and dump howdy, fantastic. Okay, so what we want to do is, on this home page, I want them to be able to public views, it's resources used now. Drop off, we can bring that back later if we want. Delete. Emails, don't care right now, can bring it back later if we want. Errors, sounds good. Vendor, I don't think we have any. Welcome, we're dropping entirely. All right, This is our stuff here. All right, navigation. I don't care about login and register, and there's nothing else, so we're just going to drop that one entirely, and then this is just going to go to home. It's not named Laravel, it's named gislog. I think we're going to change fonts at some point, but for now, here we go. Home, you're logged in. Well, I'm not really logged in, but let's go to home.play.php. So we don't want home, we actually want create a gislog, and you're going to do that by paste the URL to a gist here to create a gislog. And we'll make this prettier later, but this is basically just going to be an input. And then this is going to be a form, which is going to have an action of not sure what yet. And then you got a submit button. When you submit it, it's just going to take you to a view that basically gets the content of that gist and then just presents it a very specific way. Okay, so let's grab this and right, okay, cool. So what do we want? We want to be able to post it up to method equals post, action equals posts, create. Then we go to routes and we do route, post, posts, create. So this is going to redirect to a get, which is going to be route get. It's going to be, what's the gists URL? We would like to just reproduce that. So, yeah, see, I'd love to have this, just slash username slash that. So basically username slash, and then it's just post ID, really, which is really just ID. And then in here, you know, we're going to eventually actually get this gist. But right now we'll just username gist ID. So the idea is that this is going to get username and gist ID and forward it over to here. So this is where we actually need to do our work initially. So gist ID equals, actually gist URL equals input get gist URL. Then we go over to this one, and then this is input name equals gist URL. Okay, so that's going to pull us into routes, and then of course we're going to strip ID from URL, and then we're going to get gist from ID, and then we're going to error and redirect if gist doesn't exist. If does exist, we're going to cache and redirect to route below. Okay, so strip ID from the URL. So that's maybe regular expressions or something, which means we have like a service that's, or a helper of some sort that's going to help us with this kind of stuff. But I mean, it's kind of going to be something like just repository get by URL. And I mean, we might not have to even care about it. Just get by URL, and then we just paste in just URL, right? And then we just try. You know, catch invalid URL exception E and do something, and then catch just not found exception E, and then do something else. Once we've got the gist, then we can redirect to, what's it going to be? Just username. Man, I don't even know what that's going to be. Just username. Let's just do username for now. It's probably going to be wrong. Slash gist ID. Of course, what we need to do. Okay. Oh, you know what we didn't do? We didn't do app name, which sets the global namespace from app to whatever we want. So app name gislog. So we need to create a new repository. So the question is, do we do a repositories top level or do we do a gists? I'm going to do gists. And in gists, we're going to have a gist entity. Then we're going to have a gist repository. So the gist repository at least is going to have get by URL. And it's going to be URL. It's going to return a gist. And gist we know is at least going to have, let's just do public properties. It's going to have an ID and it's going to have a username. Okay. Why is the namespace getting set to app? I think PHP Storm might not have picked up my namespacing or something. So I might have to go redo that thing. You can tell I don't understand how this works at all. Okay, so that is one. It's a source, yes. How do I change what namespace it's the source for? Source folders. That's global, but that's not right. I just feel like there should be more in there. Is there something I'm missing? There's got to be something I'm missing. Add content, reuse mat style for sites, gist log. All right, well, that sucks. So this is gist log gists, and then this is gist log gists, because that could have caused a lot of confusion. All right, so our home controller here. It's not what we're looking at. We're looking at routes because I'm being lazy. Okay, let's do this. PHP artisan make controller gists controller. Okay, so this is what method is this going to be named? This is the, it's not create because that's this. This is the update. No, the create store is what we call it, which is kind of weird. And redirect, that's awkward, but whatever. And then we've got route get, that's just this one down below. Let's do this. Is actually just gists controller at show. All right. Oh, I forgot it creates all this crap. Okay, so just controller extends controller, and so we've got public function store and redirect, which doesn't take any parameters. And we've got public function show, which takes a username and a gist ID. Man, mousing is hard with band-aids and typing. Okay, so this is what we need to punt into store and redirect. Hang out with Matt Frost in 15 minutes. These exceptions don't exist, and redirect, we want to import that too. Okay. And then this is just die and dump username, gist ID. And then we can dump this. Okay. Okay, so it's weird that controller's not needed. Just log HTTP controllers controller. Okay, because we're in the same directory. So where have we made it here in our actual implementation? Which token mismatch? Okay, because CSRF protection is enabled by default, and that means I would need to go in there and you know what I'm just going to do? I'm going to, man, where is that? App service provider? Config app.php? I would have to do the CSRF token helper stuff and all that, and I just don't want to deal with it right now. No, it's in kernel. This is Laravel 5 stuff, so excuse me for being new at this. I should handle that later, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. Okay, so CSRF is no longer mattering. Okay, trying to get a property of non-object because we didn't actually get a return, right? So now is the time to actually do something. We've got GitHub/client. We've got a repository. So this guy right here, this one is responsible for getting and caching all that kind of information. So there's going to be probably a gist service, I guess. Let's just create a gist service that's going to do our validation for us. We're not going to create it yet. I'm just going to do it in line because I got 13 minutes. So what we want to do is this validate URL, and then this validate. Well, I guess it's just going to be get gist, and then that's really what we're doing, right? Extracting the idea from the URL, the ID from the URL, and then it can throw an exception if it wants. Once we've got an ID, then we get from cache if exists, and if not, that's a to do, and then we'll say gist equals gist service, which is just gonna be for right now, get gist or get by ID, I guess, and then again, this should probably be in a factory somewhere, but right now we're just going to say return gist from GitHub gist, and then we make sure that this is imported correctly, which it is because we're in the right directory. And so that means our gist needs a static for generating. I don't actually know we're going to get back there, so let's just do this and then. Okay. I'm getting lost in all these pieces. Of course, we should die and dump. Oh, right, so we got to perform these methods. Okay, so extract ID from URL. Again, it's going to be a lot of great stuff, but for right now, we're just going to do like you know, segments equals explode by slashes URL, and then return, what is it, last segments. And of course, we need to validate that. And then get by ID. So we want a GitHub client. Oops. So import class, and then initialize field. Okay, so we've got a GitHub client available to us. Of course, that means when we're actually creating this thing, wherever on earth I'm doing that, it can't be new gist repository. We want it to be app make gist repository, so it gets auto-injected. All right, so we've got a GitHub client, and so this is now going to be basically this GitHub gists, something like that, show ID, maybe something like that. That's probably not going to work, but let's just try it. I don't even know what's calling what at this point, but something's going to die and dump somewhere. Class gist repository does not exist, right? Because it's not. It's git gist log gist repository. Syntax error, gist repository line 40. Okay, understandable. All right. What's not found? Gist slash ASDF, ASDF, ASDF. Okay, so what if it was an actual gist? I thought this wasn't going to work without me authenticating, but maybe that's not a thing. So let's post for an actual gist URL. Right, it's supposed to be a URL, not just an ID. Undefined variable gist repository line 41. Oh my gosh, did it actually get something? Whoa, that was so awesomely easy. Okay, it's an array. Great. So our gist, it's not from, well, it's still an array. So array gist for each, well, I guess do we care? We probably care. We don't want just ID and username. We probably want the whole thing. Am I going to do this? I've got 8 minutes. Just as key value. Wait. God, old habits die hard. This key equals value. And then OMG, the bad practices. Oh, except that's not this. It's self equals new self key, return self. Which we could just do in a constructor, but we're just going to do this right. And we just stop judging me. Well, I don't even know if username is a thing here. User. See, that's exactly what I thought it was going to be. It's going to be user login. Just ID doesn't seem to actually even come across at all, does it? That's weird. It's the URL, which we'd have to strip using our same. Oh my gosh, ID just, I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but I'm just feeling the crunch of time. Okay, let's just try that. Right, of course, we're dying and dumping. So we're just going to get by ID returns. Oh, that's weird because get by URL returns 1 and then, so it's really return just from GitHub ID, then gist, and then this just returns. All right, that's a 2. That's not actually a description of what's happening. Let me just return this get by ID ID, because get by URL is just a pass through to get by ID, which could totally be public. And this should actually be the one that's getting from the cache, huh? Okay, so that would make sense because it is just user login. Because these are arrays, right? Ross Tuck. What's up, Ross? Okay, something's dying and dumping both of these, which I think is the controller. So we now, oh, so we got redirected. We didn't cache it, but that's okay. So once we're showing, we're back in the same spot, which is try repository. And you know what we could do is, this is a controller, so we can actually just repository. I don't know what's different. Oh, inject it, and then we can just inject the same thing here. I don't know if it matters if you inject it either before or after the parameter list, so we're just going to try this. So try repository get. This is interesting because it's not just get by ID, it's get by name and ID. Which is really just get by ID and then verify that the username is correct. But I'm promising it, so I'm going to make it happen. So public function get by username and ID is username ID, no, just ID. And this is going to be basically gist. So this is a real gist, not a GitHub gist, which is confusing. All in us gist equals this get by ID, gist ID, if gist username is not equal to username, throw new, let's do for a meaningful exception later, but wrong username for this gist, and then return gist. Close enough. Okay, so I don't even care about catching that right now. I got 3 minutes. 3 minutes, son. Oh, I just would love to actually do something with this. Like if this actually almost functioned, like in 2 minutes, I would then this would have all happened in half an hour, and I'd be freaking out, man. All right, we've got ID username, we've got key. So this actually, this whole thing right here is failing. For just as key equals value, right? There we go. Okay, so what do we have? We have a HTML URL. We got files. So let's just real quick. This is not going to be the final thing, but in 2 minutes, let's give me files, and it's probably going to be file number 1. Yep. So it's not actually file number 1. It's reset on files. Okay. So file equals reset on gist files, and then what do we do with file? We got a file name, and then we've got a language, and then we've got a content. So name, language, is it name or file name? File name. Language, content available on that. And of course we want to, in the end, create a view that uses the file name as the title, switches based on the language to figure out how it's outputting, and then gives us the content. So we're out of time, but this is what we're going to work with. And in the end, we should have, oh, because it's gist on all those. What are you doing? Frick. What do you mean? File name is not found. Oh, because it's not gist. It's file. File's not an object. What is file? Killing me here. I'm out of time. Come on. File's an array. What? Is it an array? I hate these things. Okay. I mean, I don't hate these things. I totally understand why it is. Typing with band-aids. All right. Title, language, thing needs to convert to Markdown. Doing good. 5 o'clock. See y'all soon. All right, we're back at it. So I've got to remember where we were. So what do we have? All right, so we post in a URL, strips it out poorly, redirects over. All right, so we need cache. We need markdown parsing. So let's go get markdown. Make sure it's actually working. This is actually working. All right, abandon use, Michel F PHP markdown. I would use common mark, but I'm nervous about their stuff not being ready to the sorry, I'm worried about them not being ready to the point where it can really perfectly translate GitHub. I think they're doing it right, but I think they're like still getting started. All right, we went Markdown Extra because that gives us the GitHub tables and fences and that kind of stuff. So let's go retire it and require it. 1.4.1, which is kind of crazy because I'm pretty sure we just required something else as 1.4.1. Okay, so composer require Michel F slash PHP dash markdown colon tilde 1.4. Okay, so what's our syntax going to look like? It's going to be use this, and then that's default transform, static, fantastic. So we've got a just present, I don't even know what I would call it, transformer? I don't know, I'm going to call it presenter right now. I don't even know what it is. It's a just file presenter? Because it's not the gist, it's the file. That's weird. What is this thing? It's given, I mean, so the smallest thing is it takes the content and presents it, translate, outputs it. But is it going to take the whole gist or just the file? And is it weird that it's a class like this? Whatever. I don't care. We're spiking. File presenter. Okay. So still namespacing wrong, which sucks. Gist log gists. And so what we want is, I mean, I guess it's just present or output or whatever, like public static function output and then gist. God, that looks wrong. Present, but that's kind of weird, but let's just try it, I guess. All right, so let's get, okay, so markdown extra. So we've got privates for the different types. So It's like a switch, but we're going to do it as like a convention. So it'd basically be like transform public or private. It's got to be static. Static function transform markdown to HTML is what we're doing, and then it'd be markdown. And so for each one, we basically would want to transform thing, transform language. So what we want is if, it's like, I'm trying to remember, but basically method exists, self, transform, transform, it's not gist, it's a file, which we don't have a type for, so this is purely just going to be I'm tempted to create a value object for a file, but we're not going to worry about it right now. Okay, so the transfer method is transform UC first file language. I need to turn off flux. No, I'll leave it. It's just hard to see. Language to HTML. And I'm being inconsistent about whether or not I can, like HTML versus URL, do I do the rest of them capitalized? I didn't for URL, I am for HTML. Oh well. Okay, so if method exists, self transform method name. I guess it's really if doesn't method exist, so that throw new exception. No, not a fly system exception, just exception. File presenter doesn't know how to transform files of type file language. Otherwise, return self transform method name and then file, is it content? Content. Okay, and if it's markdown, then we can just say return markdown extra, default transform markdown, and hope it's good enough. Unfortunately, we're using magic, so this thinks it's never used. I don't know if there's any way to, I wonder if there's a way to hint that to them. Why is it return mixed? Just because you don't know? Because it's not actually telling you. Well, this is kind of old school. Whoa, this is weird. Doesn't feel like PHP seeing this. Okay, cool. Okay, so what we want is to actually use this thing. So let's just take this right here, and let's just say, am I doing something wrong? How does it even work? Static, maybe? Suspected. I feel like that's not right. What is it? This? No, you can't do this. I think that's right. Is it self class? Wait, it doesn't know how. What do you mean it doesn't know how? think it's just checking. Let's try this. There we go. Bam! That's some HTML, although it's not linking things. Okay, well, that's a start though. Okay, so that's working. So we can now return view make. This is going to be gists dot. It's not gists really. It's gist logs dot show with content this. And what else? Title is currently just going to be the file name. I don't know if we're ever going to get any better than that file name. Also, we should note that we're just passing the first file. If they had multiple files, it's totally fail. Language, I don't think we care about. So maybe it's just that. This is crazy if it's that easy. So let's make that view. So just logs. New file is going to be show.blade.php. It's basically just going to be the home blade with some tweaks. So the panel title is going to be title, and the panel body is going to be the content. And then, oh, you know what we want? We want the URL somewhere. And I'm guessing we're not going to get the comments, but if we get the comments, that would be really sweet too. Okay, so let's DD on our gist to see what else we get. ID, username, which we faked, URL, which I assume is not the human visible, HTML URL. Okay, so we want HTML URL. So with link file, oh, it's not the file, it's gist HTML URL. Man, this mixing standard class objects, basically popos here, and just, this is bad. This is bad. Okay, public false. It seems, oh, interesting. So that means secret. Yeah, there we go. Huh, I wonder if, interesting. So if it's secret, we want to make this hidden from a search engine. Otherwise, we're validating, we're getting rid of people's, oh, crap. So, sorry, breaking people's trust with secret. And it's going to be the opposite of just public. I'm really glad I found that. So if it is secret, then what do you do on just a single file to hide it from a search engine? Is that possible? Is there like a meta that you can say, hey, search engines ignore me? I feel like there is. Robots, no index, no follow. Refer content never. I'm not sure about that, but definitely. Let's see if we get that on a public gist. But we definitely want this. So let's go to our app.blade.php, find our meta tags, and we say something like if is set secret. Okay. Public, created at, updated at. And I guess we could put the date and times. Oh, there's a description. That's a better title. That's a much better title. Title is going to be file description. Comments. There are comments. And there's a comments URL. Great. So we've got at this point we could really just be passing the gist in, but whatever, we're here. Refactor comments URL. Gist. Wow, it just counts comments, right? And then comments URL. What else do we have here? History. Revisions. Wow. So we could do the history if we wanted. And we can do date. I think we need a date. Created at, updated at. So it's weird to be doing all this translation of names in this width right here. So this clearly needs to change. Updated date, just updated at. Okay, so let's go to our view and with all those in view to be able to see what we have available. So let's just imagine some meta. It's clearly not going to live right here, but and we've got the link, we've got the dates, which we'll have to figure out what is it's a string. Okay, we can use that string. So created date, updated date, and then we've got the comments information, which we'll put down at the bottom. So we got the comments count, and then the comments URL. It's kind of weird we're doing link versus URL here. We should probably rename that. So forks history. Okay, that's enough for now. Just log controllers view. Wow. I thought we just saw it because it's not file description, it's just description. Oh, we gotta actually. Okay, so this is the basics. We need to clear up this display a ton, and then this stuff all clearly looks terrible. Should be something about panel something. So we're gonna need to set up a style sheet. Let's see how responsive this is by default. Could be worse. Yeah, it's not really home, is it? It's really created just log. You know what? There's better ways to find that. There we go. Okay, cool. So about self-executing commands. Okay, so let's set up some styles. Resource asses. This is my first time using, not my first time, but my first time in a long time using less. So we're gonna try Elixir, which we will do npm install because it's using package JSON, and I'm hoping we just gonna run gulp watch and that's it, but we'll see. So what do we have in there? Let's add some classes here. So this is panel heading, but it is also just log title, and this is nothing, so it's just log meta, and this is just log content, and this is just log comments. So we got to build those out. Okay, so let's see if we can do gulp watch. Jeffrey Way, you beautiful man. Okay, so let's. All right, we got meta. What else? Comment. Oh, content comments. Oh, I also don't want Roboto. Aha, it's working. Fantastic. Seriously, that was so easy. All right, font size, 1.5 em. Does it have, it'd be really nice if it had live reload. It doesn't, okay. All right, that's nice. So we gotta get this link in here somewhere. Feels like it should be, maybe it should go down to the bottom. Should just all go on the bottom maybe? Like meta and then comments is in the meta? Or below it maybe. I kind of want it to go into panel footing, but I don't know if that's a thing. Let's just see. Is panel footing a thing? That doesn't sound like something they would have. They'd name it footer or something, but let's just see. That'd be cool. Yeah, footer. How do I know? Ooh, don't want that. Okay, so let's do a wrapper. Missing Vim right now. I really would like to get the user's photo and put it up top, like right up here, like some kind of user photo URL, and then class equals profile pic. Of course, it's going to throw an error. Let's see what we're actually getting from this gist again related to the user. Also, I should start caching these before I get rate limited. Okay, I've got his username, but here we go. Rostock. Do I have avatar URL? I wonder what the rate limit on this is. URL, I should probably cache that too. Right now, let's just, yeah, we just need to pass this whole thing in. Okay, that's the first cleanup is going to be cleaning up all this stuff. Profile URL. Gosh, this is so hacky. So that's going to be, I don't know, I'm copying that. So that's going to be just user avatar URL. Yeah, we need to separate this out so this doesn't need to know about the structure. So this is going to be width 10em, height 10em. I wish I knew how to use variables in here. Border radius 5em. If that actually just works, it's going to blow my mind. Yeah, that's what I thought. Of course it's not because user is an array. Worst. User photo URL, which is apparently why I named it. Ross Tuck, you handsome dude. Actually kind of looks cool over there, but still, I would like it to be centered. So margin, zero auto, and actually need it to be a little more margined. I hope that wasn't going to be the case. What if I have to display block? There we go, that's what I thought. There we go. Good looking guy. You know what, that should link to his GitHub profile. Yep, just username. So, and we should allow these to be private too, so someone could do one without it being linked to them. This is, am I doing yet another thing? I just need to pass the, why? Because I'm trying to rush and I've got 1 minute left. What was this? Oh, I actually did pass username in. But since I'm not, I'm so bad at this. course it's not because I was in the middle of writing it. Okay, so I want to clean that up. Oh, that whole thing is a link. I don't like that at all. Fail, fail, epic fail. There we go. Actually doesn't need it above. It's really just margin bottom. All right, so I want to clean up this text here. And of course, I'm going to finish the footer and then be done for tonight. And then I'm going to clean up the text later. So link should be a link. So that's the actual URL. The date and the time, of course, we want to format. And we'll format prior to the view. Is it that easy? I'm guessing it's not that easy. Is it that easy? Carbon, you are fantastic. And we can just format them right quick. I don't know how I want to format it, so let's just do this. Man, that's amazing. Okay, so we got a couple dates. They look ugly. Create date, updated date, link URL. It's not really comments anymore. That's also stupid, but I'm out of time, so. That's a pretty decent stopping point. Pull that up on your phone and it's actually legible in a way that the other one isn't. I don't have an iPhone 6, but that would sure be nice. Okay, we got some work to do, but you can actually read it. Whoa, didn't mean to do that. All right, let's do a commit and then, oh wow, let's initialize. I can't believe I'm doing this. Git add. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, cool. I think I needed to do a little bit of a get ignored that I didn't realize. Yep. Crap, now I've got to figure out how to remember, not figure out, but remember how to get node modules or uncommit. The whole remove the cache, not uncommit, uncommit files. Oh, I guess I've already committed it, so I could. should have just done it as an amend, but that's okay. What? Can I do head? Okay. I don't know how to squash in that situation. Okay, guess I'm gonna squash that later. Okay, that's it. I'll actually create it in GitHub later and put it up, but that's it for now. All right, we're back at it. Sleeping kid, right over there. All right, so we're back, and I'm eating my breakfast, so I'm gonna mute myself so you guys don't hear me chewing. Let's see where we are. So the only thing I did, no, I think I did this before, is on the video, is I set it up in GitHub and push it up. So I'm gonna mute and get working. Aha, so the link to the comments is not a link to the comments section, it's a link to the API URL for the comments, which is great because that means we can pull them in. We could make them Ajax, probably will, but for now, let's put them back in. Ooh, I don't like that this whole thing is a link. I don't want it to be text align center. I want it to be also display block. There we go. So this also needs to be width of 10em, margin 1em auto. Okay, cool. So let's fix that. So we got width 10em, but this has a 5-pixel border, so we got to see if that's going to break something. I don't know what happens if we drop those. No, I don't want to do that. Let's just do this for now. Part of the questions with the comments UI is just at what point are we just completely replicating what they're doing here? I mean, this is valuable, right? Having a commenting system, displaying it like this. I think part of it is that with this whole blog system, we want to get rid of all this up here, all this over here. And the primary reason I did this is I want it to be mobile friendly. And it's just every single time I pull one of these up on my phone, I'm just sitting here, I'm so frustrated because I'm like trying to read this, right? Like, what do I hold shift, is it? No, it's not that. I don't know what I just did there. Well, whatever I just did is not, this is not what it looks like on a phone. So I want to get a screenshot of this now so people don't think I'm just crazy. Well, and by the way, you might be thinking, wait, doesn't Ross have a blog? Pretty sure he does. This isn't about just assuming that this is what he's caring about. I just wanted to make it happen, see if anybody likes it. I had some ideas in the shower last night about some things we might be able to do to make this particularly interesting. So there we go. So this is what it looks like when I pull it up on my phone, whether it's on Twitter or whether it's on Safari, on Tweetbot or Safari. So this is one of the primary things I'm trying to improve here. And of course you could say, okay, well let's just talk to GitHub and talk about improving their mobile styles, and that's one thing. But I think there's more to be added. So let's get back in here. Comments. Right now we're just going to do it exactly the way I do. So do GitHub comments, do just comments get their own access layer, or do we just associate them in here, or are we allowed to attach them in here? So we've got a gist. Does a gist have its comments necessarily attached? It's always been a little hard for me to understand exactly how to architect these well. With like eager loading or not eager loading, all that kind of stuff. I think I'm going to separate it because I'm still not sure that they're actually going to all return together. So, man, this is frustrating. I guess we need to see, does the SDK allow us to get them? Because right now what we have is a actual API URL. Which we're using K&P Labs. Commits for a single gist. Create a gist, update a gist. Okay, so if they don't return comments. So it looks like I might need to do a pull request to add gist comments into our library. Unless there's a gist comment somewhere here. I'm not seeing issues, no organizations, no focus. No. All right, so we're gonna have to get that ourselves. Forget what they call it. Guzzle, yeah, there we go, client, HTTP client. It's been a while since I've just done a Guzzle call directly without having like all the local config. It's been so long. Okay, so I've got a request. Turns a request interface, which gives me send. I thought there was get. Maybe it's send. Just kind of want to get response. Yeah, please received. So this gist that we brought in has the comment URL in it. This is where it'd be nice if I actually had documented all this rather than just stopping at ID and username. Comments underscore URL. I just don't remember. I don't think it was. Is it just get URI? Can't be. Can't be that simple. Right, of course not, because this isn't being called anywhere. As you can see, I'm slower in the morning. Oh, this mess. This is what sucks about spiking. At some point, you need to stabilize. Okay, so we want comment repository get for gist. I'm not pressing the right button. What's going on here? There we go. It's been so long. I feel like there's a syntax. You get, but then you got to do something because doesn't get just return back. It returns a request. Request returns back your prepared request, which returns back your request interface, which then you need to send. Let's try sending. I don't know why I thought it was like a get or something like that. Effective URL body. That sounds like the response body. Oh, is there no response body? Guess not. I'm so sad that I'm so behind on this. Mm-hmm. Yes. Let's just get body. I'm rusty. This is real life, kids. Both forgetting how to do something you've done 1,000 times and also having to Google it afterwards. Which is embarrassing. Okay, right. New client. That, right. Send the request. Well, I don't want to send the request. I want to just send it immediately, which is what we had just right here. Using responses. Get status code, right? Get reuse phrase. Okay, futures are fine. Did I just miss something? Like, is it just that it's a two-string on here and DD is passing it differently? I guess so. All right. All right. Embarrassingly slow, but we're done. So now comments is a collection, which should be able to be for each because it has array access. There we go. Look at how good looking these folks are. Okay. Go back to here. Let's get some of this crap out of the way. If I'm not using you right now, I want you out of my face. Okay, so what I want is to turn this into a row. All right, okay, so that's not supposed to be a panel anymore. So let's drop that panel. Okay, so comments for each comment is comment. So what I want is this to be a row so that I can use call medium 3 maybe. And then this is going to be call medium 9. It'd be amazing if it just worked. Check me out. Well, that's broken. But my guess is that is this card doesn't like to be a column. So I think I might put it online in a second. I think this is going to end up being our thing. So we've got to remember bootstraps, input syntax, which I certainly don't remember. Let's see, forms. That's right here, form control. Stop it, frickin'. There's a button type of submit instead of input type of submit. Let's try it, see what it looks like. I know they have a form horizontal, which I would like. Here we go, this kind of thing. Form inline is what they call it. So how do they set the widths on them? They don't? They just go inlined? Ooh, except I want the ability to break at least one thing onto a new line in inline form. Maybe this is what I'm looking for. I think this is probably it. Form horizontal, not inline. I could have just done a line break here, but I'm trying to do it the bootstrap way. Control label, do I have that already? Well, my startup disk is almost full. Holy crap. Well, all right, I'm basically gonna put this version online and then tweak from there. So that was it. I don't know how long it's been. My guess has been an hour and a half to 2 hours, and we've got Gislog up and running, and then I'm just gonna keep iterating from here. So I hope this is fun. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna fix the startup disk issue, and we'll actually put it up on Forge. So see you soon. All right, 5 minutes. Let's go get this up. I'm gonna have to blur a lot of things in this last section. So like I said, at the beginning, I registered on DN Simple. So I go to DNS, and then I'm gonna go to Forge, blurry, 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 and I'm going to manage our active server that I'm gonna put this on. It's once I remember which one it is I'm gonna put this on. Make sure everything is still working smoothly. Okay, so I deleted it. So I'm gonna grab my public IP address, which is the one that's not in parentheses. I'm gonna go over to domains, DN Simple, and I'm gonna grab, sorry, this is all blurred, but that's what we gotta do. I'm going to grab the one I'm working on, go to DNS, and I'm going to manage its records. And I'm going to add an A name for this DNS for nothing, so that's going to be gislog.co, and then point it to that public IP. And then add an A name for asterisk, which is going to be everything other than nothing.gislog.co, and I'm pointing at the same IP. So just bulk forwarding the entire IP address or domain name over to that IP address, which is served by Linode almost definitely. And so then I come in here and I say it's going to be in the public directory. The root domain is going to be gislog.co. And I'm going to add a new domain, new site to that server in Forge. So it's going to say installing for a little while, dot, 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 dot. And then once we're done with that, we're going to link it up to this GitHub repository. There we go. All right, so I'm going to manage gislog.co. Click Get Repository, Matt Stauffer / gislog. Branch master, we'll do that for now. We might switch it to something else. Install composer dependencies, yes. Run migrations, no, there aren't any, but we'll do that, yes, just in case there are some later. All right, so we enabled to click deploy, which means every single time I push up to master, it's now going to auto deploy this for me. And we set any environment variables, but we didn't end up having any. And we could set up deployment notifications to Slack or HipChat. We can, set up some queue workers, but we don't need any of that for this one. So right now, in theory, if the DNS is propagated, I should be able to go to gislog.co and I should see our website. And bam, check it out. So if I grab Rostux URL, I should do this, submit it, and it should actually work. Oh, everything's wrong in the world. All right. This is real. One more time. Resubmit. What's the problem? Runtime exception not found. Why was that? This is what we pasted. Okay, let's try it again, maybe? Did I just paste the wrong thing? Because that should be what happens if it doesn't find this actual gist. This is why you need to pass more information in to your exceptions. All right, well, I gotta go, so we'll debug this in a minute. All right, we're back. I just discovered it actually was broken locally, which means it's because when I pasted in the bootstrap methods, we missed the fact that there was supposed to be the name gist URL, not just the ID gist URL. So let's now try it locally to see if that fixed it. There we go. All right, so let's fix it and push it up, and we can see our oh, and in fixing it, I realized I hadn't actually set up a .env file. So that was about 5 minutes that you guys missed out on while I was on a call. All right, so bring back gist URL field name. Got another call in 2 minutes. Bring back just URL field name for front page. So it's auto deploying on Forge right now. And let's just see if it was done. Nope. Let's try the actual thing, which is this right here. There we go, up and running. So that's it. Lots of fits and starts because I got to squeeze this stuff in between. So sorry this wasn't one long continuous thing, but we just went in, and again, I'll be able to know how much time it was, but in an hour or two, we just went from nothing to gistlog.co, passing your gists uh, into basically being a blog post, even with the comments and all that. So next steps, I'm probably going to do caching, GitHub caching. I'm going to clean this up so this is a lot more legible, a nice narrow column, probably with a serif font. I'm going to turn this into, I'm going to put some scripts in that'll auto-link URLs, auto-link GitHub usernames, that kind of stuff. And then maybe at some point I might actually add in functionality where you can authenticate with GitHub, and you can choose to actually have like a little channel here where there will be gistlog.co/Rostalk, and you can see all the posts that he's pushed up there and stuff like that. We'll see, but that was it. So thanks for checking this out, and I hope it helped. I hope it taught you something, and I hope you enjoyed it.